Welcome to the Living Centred podcast, a podcast all about learning together how to live lives which are centred on Jesus. Everyone lives centred on something. Our goal is to learn together how every area of our lives, everything about who we are and how we live, can be increasingly oriented around Jesus and transformed by Jesus. He invites us to a rich and satisfying life, where the good news that he truly is enough changes everything about how we relate to God, ourselves, and the world. In each episode, a different person shares about what it's looking like for them to seek to centre their life on Jesus right now. As we hear their stories, we get to learn together and to encourage one another in what it means for Jesus to be at the centre of our lives. This is a journey we are all invited to, and a conversation we all get to be a part of. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name's Adrian, and it is so good to welcome you to this week's episode of the Living Centred podcast. And it is my privilege to introduce today Rod, who will be sharing with us this week, which is very good news. Rod, it is good to see you.
Good to see you, Rick.
I'm going to jump in there with a question to kind of ease us in, which is, can you tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what your life looks like at this point in time?
Yeah, my name's Rod. I'm a husband, friend, son. Been in Oasis Church for over a decade. Have the privilege of being part of the worship teams. Yeah. That's me, really.
That's great. Thank you. Then, having eased you in with a nice question, then it's the big question that I always ask at this point, which is, what does living centered on Jesus look like for you right now?
Yeah, it's a lifeblood. It's something that's really essential. Like it's as important as breathing. It really feels, there's certain seasons in life I think you can go through where I think living centered feels really easy.
Yeah.
And the waters are really still and the sun's out and you've got time and you just feel like, yeah, I'm really feeling centered on Jesus. And there's certain seasons where the water's choppy and there's storms and there's challenges. And then I think it gives a deeper understanding and I think, or need even, I would say, to live centered on Jesus in those moments.
Wow. I love that. I love that way of expressing it, of certain seasons where it feels like everything's still. And then there's some seasons where it feels like it's all a bit choppy. Like I can immediately think of those moments. Like just to dig away a little bit, like which season would you say you're in at this point?
It's weird, isn't it? Because you could have a micro snapshot of that and this week could be, yeah, it's still waters and beautiful. And then a couple of hours, it can feel like, I think it's definitely been a challenging season. One of the most challenging seasons I've probably experienced for a number of reasons. And that's okay. And change is often not straightforward and it's kind of turbulent and choppy. So I guess I'd say probably the more challenging season. Yeah. But what I've found is living centered with God in it has helped me to kind of understand and interpret the season a little bit clearer.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that perspective has really helped me to identify, well, okay, oh, goodness, sometimes it's actually really hard to know what season you're in because you're constantly in this conveyor belt and then just to have that pause moment and God just reveals, oh yeah, this is the season, that revelation of like, oh, this is what I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I feel like, yeah.
Oh, it's just liberating, I think, those moments where you suddenly think, oh, okay, this is what's going on. There's no reason to fight this.
Yeah.
It's just where it is. And God, you're with me in this.
Yeah.
Which is just, I know for me in those moments, it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to be okay. This is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't fight that process. You have to embrace it. And it just gives you that insight to be like, because in different seasons of life, sometimes living centered looks different. And in this season, it looks different as well. And so, okay, what does that look like for me? And in some ways, it's been doubling down and really like pressing in out of essential need often, or desperation, or just recognizing I need help.
Yeah.
And digging and burrowing deeper into that richness of who God is. And I guess in some ways, this season has kind of taught me that to embrace the mystery of who God is and not have all the answers, but understand that I'm seeing a side of a face of God that I probably wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for this season.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds rich.
Rich is, it is rich. And I think there's so much
sounds
more.
Painful as well. So I don't want to belittle it. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, it sounds like an easy ride. It sounds like incredibly painful.
Yeah. There's a richness to it. And I think there's a depth to it. and there's an excavating, and there's an invitation to go deeper into the mystery of who God is and experience more of it, not just on a kind of surface level of, okay, I know this pattern of actions like praying or worshiping or all these truths, but then also recognizing that in this season that how deep you can go in those things and what that reveals of God and weirdly reveals of myself, like what I've learned about myself.
Wow.
And know thyself. And I think God has given this certain seasons in my life where he's encouraging me to know myself and know him better, and the two going together.
That's really good. And so I guess within that, like, what's helping you as you're seeking to live centered and within the complexity of the moment, within the pain of the moment, the richness of finding God in their moment, like what's helping you do that?
I think knowing his nearness and knowing him to be very near, it gives you hope and it gives you a sense of perspective on situation. And I think recognizing the season I have been in or been in has been really helpful, because then you know what you're dealing with. So certain things, like sometimes on the surface level, it could seem like this is the situation, but there's such a spiritual element to often many seasons of life. Just recognize that actually God is moving even when I don't see it. Yeah. But also there's recognizing that there's other spiritual like elements, and there's light and dark. And then there's seasons where we don't battle against flesh and blood. And sometimes there's stuff that's going on way past that I can imagine or see initially from just a surface level. And then that makes me go, okay, right, I need to press in deeper. I need to worship. I need to worship. I need to pray. I need to cry out to God. I need to seek his face. Yeah. Because when the battle is fierce, some seasons there's seasons of battle where you are the front line. You have to then put on this full armor of God. It's great putting sometimes armor in seasons when it's just really chilled out. And that's really important as well. And just recognizing that season makes me go, right, okay, I need. And so these are the things that I've tried to like incorporate. So I double down and worship. I'll worship because there's such a power in that. Like there's a spiritual power in that. And praying and interceding for my family, interceding for friends, interceding for the situation. They become so really real. Yeah.
It's so good, Rod. And I love that phrase, like double down. I think it's that moment where it feels like, what I've got is you, God. and this isn't a moment to step backwards. It's the moment I need to step in, step forwards. Yeah, I love that. I guess in that then, like, what are you discovering about who God is? Like, who God is as Father, Son, Spirit. What are we discovering through this moment?
I guess, like I said earlier, about like seeing a different side of God, a side of God that I may have never experienced if I didn't go through particular seasons, and this season. And also the mystery of God. It's weird when you grow up and you in your walk of faith and your journey of faith, some truths that you learn when you're younger or in your walk, and you're like, oh yeah, that's simple, yeah, that's great. But then there's such a multifaceted layer to that. Often some of these truths that we learn as kids. Like, but what does it actually mean? Like to take up your cross? What does it mean? To lay down your life? That again, that deeper level of understanding of those things is what I'm starting to understand, and also accepting that, God, I don't understand certain things, and that is okay with you, and it's okay with me. And that's really helpful, not just to explain it away or to kind of rush ahead of the process and go, but I know God is good and he's faithful, and those things are true, and they are 100% true, but okay to sit in that moment with God and go, but this is the moment that I feel right now.
That's so good, Rod. And I think we can just so quickly seek to try and find an answer for something, or to find and package it in a way where we feel, this feels like palatable, either to me or for me communicating to other people. Whereas, it does seems like God doesn't need us to do that. He's like okay to sit there and go, yep, there's some mystery here. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
He's not in a rush sometimes. No, that's quite hard. You want to rush ahead. Come on, God, I'm done now. I think I've covered this. I appreciate this lesson. Let's move on. But I think it's just you can't rush it, and it's a slow. The kingdom is mustard seed. The kingdom is the little things, and I think what I found is that there's certain things in me that are probably patterns and behaviors, and certain things that I probably didn't recognize were there, that God is saying, Rod, actually, I really want to unpack this, and I want you to be free from that. or I want to deal with that now, Rod, because it's not doing you good. And in this tough season, I will still use it for your good. And that looks like certain things, that patterns that I never knew, or wounds that I was carrying that I never knew I was carrying. And God wants to do a work in that.
Oh, so good. It's so good, Rod. I guess my last question then, and you've begun to answer it there, is like how are you changing at this point? If we were to have met you like 3-6 months ago, how would you look different to today?
I think often it's hard to see yourself and recognize the change that and you often see others straight away. Go, oh my goodness, you seem different. There are certain seasons that you are marked by God, and there's certain seasons that will mark you in forever. And so I do feel different, and I've turned to milestone age, and I won't disclose that, but I have, and it's kind of
happening to sort. Although, some of us are kind of accelerating forward in our milestone ages.
Yeah, it just gets faster and faster, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I think you just have a pause moment to reflect and go, oh goodness, actually, I have changed.
Yes.
And that is good, because the kingdom's always advancing and it's always moving forward. And it's the pursuit for God, the hunger for God always goes deeper because he's infinite and we never reach the end of it. So I just feel like I have changed in terms of just things like it's weird. Like it's just a quiet assurance. Things seem different. Things look different.
Wow.
I feel different. I feel like I lived a lifetime. It's really weird. And now this is like almost extra time and almost like a gift. Like, okay, what do I carry into this new season of life that I've walked through?
That's amazing, Lord. I love that. I love that quiet assurance. That's just something to sit with. Just knowing that quiet assurance.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. As always, it just does my heart the world of good. I kind of leave these conversations with just my heart just full of joy as I just get the privilege of just hearing people's stories. And my hope is that is true for you as well, my listening friends, as you're listening in. Rod, thank you so much for sharing. I know for me, I think the thing I'm going to be considering is this whole aspect of knowing the season you're in. And I just want to contemplate that. I want to contemplate, okay, what's the season I'm in? And God, what is it you're wanting to do in this season? Because I don't want to miss it. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. How about you, my listening friends? What are you going to be considering out of the richness of everything Rod has shared with us? What are you be considering over this coming week? And lastly, I just want to thank you for listening. And I want to pray for you. I want to pray that you would know more of the wonder of living centered on Jesus this coming week.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Living Centered podcast. New episodes are released every Monday, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe on your chosen podcast provider to receive them direct each week. Living Centered is produced by the team at Oasis Church in Birmingham, UK, and you can find out more and get in touch with the team via theoasischurch.com.